know where I am. Hi everyone, welcome to Strange Readings. So I had too much fun with the green screen behind me. Watch as I abuse that further as we go into October. Just watch me. Just watch me. So first things first, welcome to fall. Second thing is we have our guest again from last time, Amanda.
Hi.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you work?
I work in the children's department as a children's assistant, and I do programming with Miss Cat. We do some sustainable crafts, and we also teach music theory for early music theory. And yeah.
That sounds awesome. And so before we get started, I do want to mention that this is going to be entirely PG-13 content, PG-13 warning. If you are under the age of 13, go away. I say that nicely, but go away. We don't want to traumatize anybody, which is kind of a low bar, I know, but seriously, we're going to talk about some serious content. We're going to talk about actually murder this time around. So if you are under the age of 13, we really recommend that you do not watch this. All right, so let's get started. So we actually have our case is going to be on, let's see, our case is going to be on the murder of Kanika Powell. Let me just make sure, does everyone see this?
Yes.
Yeah, y'all. Oh, awesome.
I don't know about them though.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about Kanika Powell. So I actually tried to, this is a very weird case, first of all. What did you think of this case when you were reading about it, Amanda?
There really isn't a lot of information out there on it. I feel like for being something that's one of those unsolved mysteries, this is probably the one that I've seen with least information, which makes it most mysterious, right? Because there's not a lot out there.
Yeah, like a part of me, I feel like there should have been more press about this because this was involving the government and whatnot. But well, technically, yeah, it involved the government. Kanika was considered, I think Kanika was considered a government employee, and the FBI got involved. It was a very weird case. So I guess to get started, we're going to talk a bit about Kanika, who's pictured here. So Kanika was born January 31st, 1980. You know, she grew up in Maryland. Her mom described her as feisty, fast, adorable. She was a fun little kid, and we had a ball just raising her, is how she described her. So she was a very exuberant person. And like even into adulthood, Kanika kept close ties to her female friends from high school, and you know she was very close with her family. So after high school, her family and friends were very surprised when Kanika decided she wanted to join the United States Army, and because from what they say that she wasn't really interested in any kind of athleticism or what have you, but you know she was determined to join. So, you know, she did that. I believe she did a tour in Korea. So after Kanika finished her service, she got a job at the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. She initially worked there as a security contract worker. Now, this is where things get confusing because to this day, her workplace, despite her death, has not said what exactly she did. Her position was classified. So she was an employee at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, and this was in Laurel, Maryland. She was originally a contract worker in 2004, but by 2006, she became a lab employee. According to the Washington Post, scientists worked on more than 400 homeland security and other research projects. The projects were in conjunction with the Department of Homeland Security. So, I mean, at the time of her death, a spokesperson said that Hopkins Laboratory could not say exactly what she did for a living due to the quote unquote nature of the work. When Kanika sent emails, her email signature was Kanika T. Powell, Special Security, 13-S448 JHU/APL. So Kanika herself took the privacy of her job very seriously, and she avoided talking about work with friends or family. According to her mom, whenever Kanika had to go out of town to pick up items for the lab, her mom would ask her like where she was going, and Kanika was always responded by saying that she couldn't tell her that. Now, some internet sleuths on the subreddit, which I frequent a lot, which is Unresolved Mysteries, like according to some of these sleuths, they feel that her special security part of her email signature meant that she likely managed other people's clearances and had the power to suspend them. So it looks like her job had some type of power behind it. So, yeah. So this is actually going to be a bit short case, but there are a lot of questions. And we're going to see a little bit more about her job as we go further into this presentation.
It looks like the Prezi isn't loading right now.
Oh, okay.
She's very.
Oh, there you go. Okay. I guess in the meantime, let's see. Yeah, it's a little slow. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe I'll just go ahead and I think I'm just going to have it with just with us two facing it. I'll just read off from the Prezi.
Okay, because it was like blurred out.
Oh, that's dang it! And I worked hard on the pictures too. But yeah, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, so Kanika, I'll try again later to try to see if I can bring it up. But so Kanika lived in Laurel, Maryland. She lived in a quiet apartment complex. So it was on August 23rd that a man came by. This guy came by and told her through her door that he was an FBI agent, and he was addressing her by her full name. Kanika, her alarms were ringing inside her head, and she refused to open the door. He did show her a badge through the door peephole, but he backed off when Kanika demanded to see an ID. Now, according to Kanika, the badge looked fake, and she also suspected that there was another man out of her sight because, according to her, when the guy was leaving from her doorway, she heard another man yell at him to walk in the opposite direction. And this was after she asked to see his ID. Now, Kanika was pretty disturbed by her encounter. She called the police, and they showed up around 4 minutes. The police checked the whole area around, but found no evidence of the two men. The FBI were also adamant that none of their people approached Kanika. I'm no legal expert, but I feel like you would get in a lot of trouble by pretending you're an FBI agent. But
like impersonating something so big.
Yeah. Let's see. But yeah, what did you think so far on this incident? I think Kanika did everything right the first time.
I feel like as far as taking like further safety measures, like she trusted her gut, she didn't open the door, then she called the police afterwards, and she even went like a step further and said like, she called the FBI to see if that was
I think also and I think honestly, I really think that every door should have a peephole, just because I'm kind of paranoid about this kind of thing. And there's been times where I'm not expecting company, and I'm like, oh no, let me see what car that is. I do not recognize that car whatsoever. Oh no.
Yeah.
But that's my situation. So and Amanda, you said, did you ever see any descriptions of this man that Kanika ever described?
I didn't see any descriptions written, but I know that on other podcasts they've mentioned that she did submit to the police this first instance, a description of the man.
Yeah, and I don't think we can find that anywhere on the internet. That's what always
also
weirded
weird.
me about this case. Like, I feel like that's one of the first things, you would want the public to know. What did this person look like? But yeah, this case is very weird. So after the first incident, Kanika started looking into installing a security system in her apartment. According to her mom, Kanika felt that, the first incident was just this weird scam. But it was with the second incident that Kanika started to feel that she was being targeted. So around a day or two after the first incident, a man different from the man of the first incident, so this is a different man. I'm sorry, I just said that all along instead of just saying a different man. But a different man came to her door. So like the previous man, this guy used her full name. He claimed he had a package for her, and Kanika refused to open the door. So the man left, claiming he was going to go get the package. He never returned, and no package or note was ever turned up for Kanika. And I keep thinking, actually, you brought this up, Amanda. You were like, why would you say you had a package and not have the package with you?
Yeah.
So that was. I'm starting to think that these people, whoever they are, don't know what they're doing. So the next day, another man knocked on Kanika's door. He said her full name and claimed he had a package for her. Kanika, basically responded the right way. She refused to open her door, especially because she never heard of a package arriving at 7:30 in the morning. She called her mom and the police, but when the police showed up, they could not find anyone. So a little bit after that, actually, let me double check. I think this was actually, this was like 2 or 3 days after this incident, I think. I'm trying to get my timeline correct. But around August 29th, Kanika decided to do some errands during the day because she felt it would be safer than going out during the night. Kanika stepped out of her apartment complex for a couple of hours, and she was coming back around noon. When she came back, someone was waiting for her in the hallway. Unfortunately, Kanika got shot several times in the torso by a handgun. The police were called and she was taken to the hospital. Unfortunately, Kanika died the next day. So, and from what I understand, it was like right outside of her apartment. So they were waiting for her, whoever these people were. Unfortunately, Kanika couldn't make it. She got buried in the Maryland Veterans Cemetery. She's survived by her mom, her stepdad, and 3 siblings. Every year, her family messages on her online obituary around her death. So the one of this year, August 30th, 2020, her mom wrote, "Well, I made it through another year. I celebrated your life with a visit to the Garden of Remembrance, where there is a brick on the walkway with your name on it. Just like the celebrity you are. Of course, we had dinner at your spot, Jasper's, and your cousins and I laughed about your incident in Vegas at the bar when you ordered a Remy and didn't want to pay for it when you found out how much it cost. That's my child. Had to be escorted out. I love you and miss you every day. You would be so proud of your little brother. Keep watching us, my angel. Love, Mom." Yeah, so her mom, from what accounts I've read, she became pretty religious after her daughter's death, and she said that she found some comfort that her daughter was an organ donor. To quote, "What makes her so remarkable is that she was a donor. I signed the papers, and 2 people in the metropolitan area were able to receive her kidneys. We also donated some tissue and bone, and her liver was donated to a research lab." Nevertheless, her family still wants justice, and they want to know who killed Kanika. And that's right, Rudy. Let me see if I can show you what he wrote. Yeah, Rudy put in Here you go. A little crying emoji, which I feel.
Yeah.
And oh, Nicole. Yeah, Nicole put something very sweet too. There you go. Yeah, so that's yeah. I think we got to remember this was a very, from by all accounts, was a very sweet woman. She was like 27 years old, so she was around our age at the time of her death, and it's what really gets to me is that she was doing everything right according to what experts should say you do. Don't open your door if you're suspicious. Call the police. All in all, and it's like, and it still wasn't enough. It's like I keep thinking, like, how else could have this been prevented without having to see the future? Unfortunately, we can't read the future, but it's like, besides that, what else could she have done? But the question, though, too, is who would do this to her? So this whole case was super confusing for authorities. When Kanika got shot, her wallet and keys were found beside her body. So robbery was immediately ruled out. And I believe they found nothing stolen from her apartment either. She had no record of high-risk behavior, and she had no known enemies. Authorities also believe that her job had nothing to do with her death, but for a lot of people, they disagree. Now, some people argue that, just because she had a lot of like hers was a highly secure, like high security clearance and all that. Some people pointed out that with jobs like Kanika, like she probably wasn't doing anything because it, like, if you work in a lab like Kanika did, like regardless of your position, it would be a highly confidential position. Like there's, like if you're a maintenance worker at this lab, you would still have the same secrecy as Kanika would have had. Things like that. So people feel that it's just a red herring in this whole case. Other people, though, feel that, if her job really had to do with suspending people, maybe there was someone that had something out for her for that. And things got more confusing, though, too, because there was another person. His name was Sean Green, and they felt that his job may have had to do with his murder. So his name was Sean Nicholas Green. He died around November 13th, 2008. So he was killed around the time Kanika died, like I think a few months after her. So, a lot of people feel that so let me explain first actually who Sean was. Sean was a single man that lived alone, but he was described as very family oriented. He dedicated himself to his 8 nephews. Like Kanika, he worked in a job with a high-level security clearance. He worked for the National Counterterrorism Center in Northern Virginia, but he lived in the same county like Kanika did. Okay, and the way he was murdered was very upsetting, to say the least. So he was shot 9 times by a masked gunman while waiting in his car during a red light. Witnesses couldn't say much of what this man looked like, given that, he was masked and he fled the scene quickly as possible. He was also killed 30 minutes away from where Kanika died. Police do state that they do not believe that there were any connections between him and Kanika or their deaths. Some people, though, do think that no, there has to be something there. This is a weird coincidence. But, unfortunately, I think sometimes life does have coincidences and nothing else, but I'm remaining neutral on that. Now, another theory is that, and let me see if yeah, something's going on with my Prezi, guys. But I have a very scary looking mugshot. You're all welcome that you don't see it. But there was a serial killer around the area. His name was Jason Scott Thomas, but he was also known as the mother-daughter killer. Some people think that he may have been behind Kanika's death. He shot and strangled some of his victims, and he would also set fire on the bodies to hide evidence. He was called the mother-daughter killer because, unfortunately, some of his victims were mother and daughter pairs. And this is where things are a little scary. Thomas worked part-time at the USPS, and he was able to get information on his victims by accessing the database his workplace used. Scott eventually got caught after a federal informant bought a gun from him, and that's how a search warrant they were able to get a search warrant on him. So in early 2012, Thomas was sentenced to 100 years in prison for dozens of armed home invasions and burglaries in Maryland. He pled something that's called the Alford plea, which, to quote, means doesn't admit guilt, but acknowledges that prosecutors have enough evidence to convict him. He's been very quiet about the murders. He has not admitted to many of his crimes, and he has revealed no details about the murders. He murdered 5 women in Kanika's area around the time she got killed. Although skeptics are also quick to point out that he was not known for making up an identity, and his methods of killing don't really match as to how Kanika got killed. But he's a popular theory too. I mean, it's very weird that this woman got mysteriously shot and there's a serial killer in the area, but it's just a very odd factor. And
him working with the USPS is also like suspicious because of the gentleman who knocked on her door the 2 times, saying that he had a package.
Yeah, it's very weird, and like this whole case is contrived of a lot of coincidences and a lot of dead ends.
Yeah, and not enough evidence or not enough information. They're very like stringy theories,
right? So what other theories have you heard about this, Amanda? Like any theories that have stood out to you?
Yes. So I was listening to another podcast, like a true crime mystery podcast, and they're called Last Seen Alive. And one of the speakers there, he tends to be like conspiracy theorist towards like government stuff situations, like something that he thinks about a lot. And for this case specifically, he had said, like, there's the people who think that this might have been, you know, because of her job or because of the government. Like, it would have to have been a lot of work to pretend to be a really bad FBI agent just to make them think, like, this couldn't be the FBI. Like, why would they come to her door with a fake badge or a badge that looks visibly not real and then come back basically 3 times and then unfortunately murder her the 3rd time, like the 3rd attempt. Like, you would think that if it was an inside job, it would be more organized, more professional. Like you mentioned earlier in this episode, you had said they don't seem to have their stuff together. They don't know what they're doing exactly.
Yeah, I'm thinking from what I can see from these incidents that there had to be 3 individuals involved in this at least, because I think they were like described 3 different men, or 2 if one of the men just happened to be that. I'm including the voice that was heard in the hallway.
Yeah.
So maybe it was 2 or 3 men that were involved, and they had this weird focus on Kanika, like. I have not read anything about them going after any of the other apartments. It was only Kanika, like as if they knew she would live there.
Yeah, they knew her full name, where she lived, and then potentially her schedule, because that's how they get her that 3rd day when she decides to stay home and do her errands during the day instead of at night.
And yeah, and it's so weird that they knew all these specific things about her but they did not steal anything from her. So it makes me think that there was a malicious intent there. And I can see why some people, not just because, her job had to be secret, but because she may have had power to suspend people. Like, I could see that some people might think like, oh, someone had it out for her for something at work. I mean, I'm pretty neutral on whether or not her job had anything to do with it. A part of me wonders if maybe an ex-boyfriend, because there's this really weird case. I'm not sure if it's in the same state, and this was solved. So, and the guy went to jail and everything, thankfully. But there's this true life case where an ex-husband, he sent this guy over to visit his ex-wife at her house, and the assassin basically pretended to be delivering flowers, and he had actual flowers. But when she took them, he shot her and killed her instantly. Thankfully, both the hitman and the ex-husband are in jail and everything, and much may rest in peace to her, and condolences to her family. But I keep thinking maybe it's someone that didn't have end on the best terms with her. Maybe that we haven't
that she knew, because I think they did mention, at least her mom, that she wasn't necessarily seeing anybody. Like, I don't think she was involved with anybody. She had always been known as a very kind person, so nobody that they suspected that she could have set off.
Yeah, there's just some weird targeting towards her. Like, and I don't think I've ever heard of, like, if this was just some cold-blooded killer, it's very weird to me that, because from what I read, and of course, anyone that's an actual expert, feel free to tell me how wrong I am about this. I'm totally okay if anyone tells me that I'm being wrong about this, but from what I've read, a lot of serial killers are very egotistical. They're narcissists. I think they rarely have anyone help them unless it's an accomplice that is related to them or in a relationship with them or something. And it's weird that we have these two or three random men teaming up for this one woman that has not done anything except live in her apartment by herself.
Yeah. And then for it to be like not random, because I think if it was a random incident or like a one-time thing, they would have just gone the one time when she didn't open the door, then not try her again, because, well, they already know that she's not going to open the door, but they returned like multiple times. So that's, I mean, her gut feeling told her that she was being targeted, but we just don't know by whom.
Yeah, and I think my mind kind of got blown when I found out that this serial killer in the area, and I feel very weird saying the serial killer in the area was able to access a lot of his victims by finding it in the database. And I keep thinking, okay, but should there be for all we know, there probably has been a lot of new rules since this had happened. What really confuses me too is that this case hasn't gotten a lot of press, as I feel like it would have. And I keep thinking, Kanika was a African American, and I keep thinking, okay, but I've talked about missing white woman syndrome is an actual term in other episodes, but would the press would have focused more on this if she had been a white woman, or?
And especially because she served, she was in the Army. I think that does play a role in how much coverage it got.
Yeah, it just confuses me, and especially I haven't read anything about the FBI beyond saying like our FBI agents did not get sent to Kanika's apartment. I feel like, wouldn't the FBI be a little like, wait, is someone pretending to be us?
Yeah.
Like, let me know, because we're gonna go over there and have a little talk with that person. I kind of feel like people would have been like had their hackles raised, because I believe just pretending to be an FBI is a federal offense. But
and then also just to play into the conspiracy theory of it all, like if it was the FBI, why would they say it was the FBI? Like, why would
I mean,
anybody admit to it? Like, also because I do think that they talked to her employers and asked, like, could her job potentially have had any reason behind this? They said no. They're like, why would if they felt if they felt like it did or if it had, why would they say it? Like, it's just unreliable narrators everywhere.
and it's like, and don't get me wrong, like for all I know, the internet sleuths may have been wrong. Maybe she wasn't in charge of suspensions and all that, but but if she was, I feel like you would demand to look at people that she may have suspended in the past because I don't know, people can have the strangest workplace grievances. Like, I think I found, and actually, before I go on, before I go on, anyone that's watching this, feel free to share your own theories or your own comments of what you think happened with this, because this is a very, very weird case. I keep saying that, but it is a very weird case. And but yeah, I keep thinking like, so there's this message board I was on that was really funny because they were talking about the people. Someone asked, okay, what was the best I quit story on at your workplace? And apparently someone in one workplace was riding on a lawnmower from the building, and they were just saying, "I'm done," or like, people act the strangest way, and people can be angry for the weirdest things. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So Kanika worked in the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory. This laboratory is in charge of Homeland Security projects. It's very hush hush, and Kanika's position to this day is a secret. The laboratory won't say what she did for a living there. Now, some people on the internet, based on her email signature that has certain coding on it, like even her email signature didn't say what she did for a living. It just had some coding. They're guessing that she was in charge of suspensions and clearing backgrounds for other employees. But yeah, she was she had to do with the Homeland Security, high security clearance. Yeah, and to this day, the laboratory won't say what she did exactly. It's highly confidential. So, yeah, and do you? and I think Rudy's like sharing exactly what we're all feeling.
It's just not
Like
a lot
Amanda,
to go off of.
yeah, Amanda, do you think her job really did have anything to do with her death?
I don't know. Because we don't really know for sure what she did there. And I think you had mentioned before, like off of the camera, that even somebody who would be just working in that building as maintenance or custodial services would also be considered like a private,
Yeah.
like what they did there in that building would still be confidential. Like we wouldn't be able to talk about that.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. Rudy has his own theory. I mean, yeah, I think those two are like the main popular theories, because I can't say it was the mailman serial killer because this guy worked alone, like from what I read. Unless, and I don't know about, and I'm just saying, if I was a serial killer and I was working with someone, if I got arrested and I've been sentenced 100 years, I've been like, yeah, it was that dude over there. He was helping me.
Yeah, I do think I read somewhere that the serial killer did, like previously before actually murdering people, would do like petty theft and things like that. And at that point in his life, he did work with accomplices. But I think the second he got into like people, that was like a solo job. So
yeah,
because they didn't take anything from her apartment, like I don't know if that.
Yeah, I And also, I feel like if anything, I feel like the most plausible might be a disgruntled ex-employee from what Rudy says. Just because I think that's what we really have left who could possibly have a grudge. And like I said before, people can have the weirdest grudges. And if Kanika was in charge of suspensions, because I don't know.
Maybe even if she wasn't in charge of like suspensions or any kind of clearance like that, they could just be potentially taking advantage of like how secretive their jobs are and knowing that nobody could ever, find out too much about the workplace. It could be anybody for any kind of reason.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like what Rudy says, it there is something personal about it. Like if there was no money or items stolen, someone had it out for Kanika, and I really want to say that it was probably for something petty because Kanika seemed like a very kind person. She seemed to really, care about being in the military to take care of people. Like, what happened? But yeah, I think we've covered all we could with Kanika. Hopefully, we'll have more people going. In the meantime, like if you know anything, my Prezi is still not working, but I'll go ahead and read you off the Prince George's County Crime Solvers phone number. If you guys know anything, if any of y'all know anything on Kanika's case or any tips that might help out, you could call them at 1-866-411-8477. Again, the phone number is 1-866-411-8477. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Amanda for your input. Like,
of course.
I think you and I did the best research we could. Yeah. Hopefully, her family will get justice, and hopefully, we'll find out more. But this is going to be our last episode for September. Keep an eye out for October. We have 2 interesting cases so far. One involving Girl Scouts, and not to do with the cookies, unfortunately. I would totally trade cookies for murder. Maybe I'm a minority in that. But also, and also another case actually on code words, on a strange coded language that was found in the body. Yeah, I'll get a little more details about that, but yeah, I also invited UTRGV faculty from the Criminal Justice Department for each case. And thank you, Francisco. Yeah, I decided to have fun with the green screen, and I didn't intend for this to happen, but now it looks like a zombie hand is coming to grab my hair. And I'm always like, I feel like I was just telling Amanda actually that you know that scene in The Grudge where the girl's taking a shower and then she has these dead person's fingers in her hair. That's how I feel like every time I look at my background. So also keep an eye out because I'm gonna definitely play out this green screen like no tomorrow. And guess what I'm gonna put in next time. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and thank you, Amanda, for being a wonderful guest.
Thank you for having me.
Without further ado, yeah, and I hope to have you again soon. But in the meantime, I bid you all adieu.